Now, there's two topics I want to discuss before the end of this show. And this is probably going to be more sort of bonus clip material here, because they're not really huge topics, but topics I saw and I thought, oh my, okay, one of them's very interesting and one of them's like, oh my goodness. So the first one I want to talk about is this one, and that is that the IIHF have suspended a Russian ice hockey player for violating anti-doping rules. Now, for those of you that are aware with the IIHF and Russian hockey, seeing a Russian hockey player be banned for anti-doping rules isn't necessarily an uncommon occurrence. Does it happen every single day or every single week? No, of course not. But you see them get caught for doping more often than other countries or other players in other countries. That's just the way it is. Whether it's they have more of a focus on it, that's up to them. But these are usually what the IIHF talk about, is usually players from Russia being caught for doping. We've seen some of the best KHL players get caught for doping at some point, and it's meant that they can't compete in international tournaments. The one that I remember is Danis Zarapov of Akbars Kazan got done for doping. I'm not sure if he repealed it or anything like that, so don't quote me on it, but he did get done for doping a couple of years ago, I believe. So I'm going to butcher this name, so bear with me, folks, because it's a very long name, and I spent a good 5 minutes before recording this episode, or starting to record this episode, trying to figure out how to pronounce it, and I didn't get anywhere. So this is according to the Russian news agency TASS, so you know it's from a pretty reliable source in terms of the Russian sphere. The International Ice Hockey Federation has ruled to suspend Russian forward, here we go, Ilya Altybarmakyan.
I'll give you that. That's what I would say. So
Altybarmakyan. Let's go with that. So they've suspended him until the spring of 2024. So, for context, that's 4 years. So they've suspended this player 4 years over violations of anti-doping regulations. The IIHF press service released a statement on Wednesday, which was, I think, last Wednesday. Yeah, the 9th of September, so last Wednesday. And it said this: the IIHF disciplinary board suspend 19-year-old Russian forward Ilya, insert name here, due to a doping violation during the 1920 season while playing for SKA 1946 St. Petersburg in Russia's top junior league, the MHL. According to the IIHF, insert name here, was tested after the home game on the 6th of February against Typhoon Primorsky Krai. In his sample, the presence of the cocaine metabolite benzolyaconin, benzollecgonin, let's just go with that, a prohibited substance. Yeah, a cocaine-like substance, a prohibited substance listed under Section 6A of the 2020 World Anti-Doping Agency prohibited list as a non-specified substance. A stimulant was found, the statement continued. The player was informed about the adverse analytical finding and provisionally suspended him on March 25th, 2020. The player neither wanted a hearing nor a testing of his B sample, and he will thus be suspended until the 24th of March, 2024. So, kind of the TLDR, a junior player in the SKA St. Petersburg system for their junior team in the MHL, which is essentially kind of similar to the OHL or the QMJHL over in North America. He got caught with some cocaine in his system, or a stimulant similar to cocaine, and he's now been suspended from international hockey, or been suspended in general from the IIHF for 4 years. He's 19 years old, so by the time he's able to come back and play hockey again, I'm not sure if it means that he's suspended from domestic play as well. It says that the IIHF has suspended him, and I'm pretty sure the KHL does fall under IIHF rules in some ways. So it might be, don't quote me on it though, but it might be that he's suspended for the next 4 years from playing hockey, which means, if that is the case, he will be almost 24 years old by the time he's allowed back on the ice to play a hockey game. Chris, when you hear this news, just how terrible is this for this guy's career, and what do you think people should learn, or athletes should learn, from a story like this?
Don't do it.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's simple. The thing that jumps out at me at this, and I think this is partly why the suspension is so long, when you look at the wording, and it's this key sentence here: the player didn't want a hearing or a testing of his B sample. Yeah. Which means that he knows he did it, and he knows it's in his system, and he knows the B sample will come back positive as well. Yeah. What we've seen in doping in the past, in all sports, really, is that the player will say that they didn't know it was in their system.
Yeah.
And then they'll have the B sample tested and all the rest of it, because, you know, there are errors. The fact that this player goes, no, I don't want the hearing and I don't want my other sample tested, he knows he's been caught, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that he did it knowingly has added to that sentence and the suspension. 4 years, I mean, from going from 19 to 23, that's a big chunk of his development. That's
basically his entire development as a hockey player. Yeah.
That he now can't play for. But, you know, that's what you do when you do things like that and put the substances in your body. I'm not being funny, but the prohibited list is available for people to look at.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a secret list. So it would have been easy it would have been a bit of a pain, but it would have been easy to check if he was insistent on putting the stuff inside himself. You know, he's been caught out, and that's the price you pay.
I completely agree. I guess it's a case of, if you play with fire, chances are you're going to get burned, Chris. Because, I mean, it's one of those things that it sucks, because he could have been a fantastic hockey player. I've never seen him play. I don't really know what his stats are like. If, Chris, you could find a way to bring them up.
I'll have a look.
It might take a little while, like, trying to write his name into Elite Prospects, but...
No, I got it.
Oh, perfect. He's
You only have to type in the first 4 and it comes up.
Yeah, exactly. So he's a guy that, if he's playing in SKA St. Petersburg's junior system, he's a pretty highly rated prospect, you would think. He's a guy that's kind of like, you know, he could make something. He could be a professional hockey player. And he's thrown it all away, essentially, by the fact that he's taken this banned substance. And I think, going off what you said earlier, Chris, the fact that usually when this comes out, athletes or professionals, whether it be the Olympics or hockey or any other sport, they vehemently deny the accusation that they have been doping or they have taken a banned substance. And it either becomes, I did not take that willingly, or there was something in my usual supplements or my usual legal things that I take that must have been contaminated. And then, like you mentioned, they take the B samples and go, look, there's obviously a tiny amount in it anyway. I think the fact that he was given 4 years probably indicates that there was a large amount of this substance in his system. If there was kind of like a tiny hint of it, I wouldn't be surprised if the suspension was reduced to maybe a year, 6 months, etc., because in the article they do also mention that a female hockey player was banned for 8 months due to anti-doping rules. So it might have been a case of there was just so much of this in his system, or maybe they caught him the day after he decided to take this substance. Now, the fact that this has happened the way it has, I was watching something on the Pat McAfee show, who does a lot of he's a former NFL player, and I saw a video that he uploaded a good few months ago about how he was tested like 8 times in one season while playing in the NFL for the Indianapolis Colts. And he mentioned that there's a lot of players that take like legal substances, and that's not even like all the ones that are kind of on the line. They take like iron pills or like vitamin C tablets or something. But because a lot of them are made in the same factories as where the supposedly banned substances are made, all it takes is for a little bit of powder from one thing to transfer to the other, then you've got that banned substance in your thing. So that's why I think the B samples would have been an example that he could have gone for, but go for it, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I just went on Google and I typed in 2020 WADA prohibited list. It's the first thing that comes up. It's a PDF file.
Yeah.
And you can just view it. So it's not a difficult thing to find. I think the fact that there was probably a decent amount of it, like you say, and the fact that he effectively owned up to it has contributed to the long ban. Yeah, he was doing okay. I've got his stats. He had 40 points in 51 games last season, and 40 points in 52 games the season before that. So he was putting up decent numbers. 20 goal a season scorer for each of the last 2 seasons. So a decent player that has thrown it away.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the way to summarize it, isn't it? He's a guy that he essentially had the hockey world at his feet. He was a 20-goal scorer a year in the junior league. He could have probably, in the next couple of years, found his way onto SK St. Petersburg's roster. They have a very good system in terms of developing prospects and bringing them up to their big league club. and he's just thrown it all away because for whatever reason, maybe he was taking it because he thought it would help his performance. Maybe the fact that he's played so well is because he's been using these substances. The problem is with something like this, it's now brought his entire performance and his entire career into dispute, because now everybody's going to wonder, oh, he was a 20-goal scorer, he was a 40-point scorer. Is that because he was using stimulants to make his game better? While everybody, sure, there are obviously players that cheat that go unnoticed. There are obviously in every single sport, whether it be the NHL, if that's possible, they do quite good drug testing as far as I'm aware. Not the best, but decent drug testing, all the way down to some of the lower European leagues. Obviously, there are going to be players that are taking certain substances that they either shouldn't be, or it might not be the right thing to do. So you're in a position where you've got some players cheating, and it might positively impact their performance. But you've also, if they get caught, then they're in the position, your legacy from now until forever will then become, he only played well because he was cheating, and the substances are what made him good, not him as a hockey player. What do you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, there's always going to be that. And it may be that most all of his performances were without substances. We'll never know that. But there's always going to be that doubt in your mind now, and there's always going to be the teams that go, oh, well, he scored against us, and that's why we lost the game, and I wonder if, and all the rest of it. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame that that's happened to what looked as though it was going to be a young and promising hockey player for the future. But
yeah, it is what it is, isn't it, Chris? It is what it is. I mean,
yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah,
but I mean, yeah, that's just what happens. But we'll have to move. He'll have to move past it and find a way to move forward, and hockey will continue far and wide and in new countries.